So we are here today with Cormac Colleran, all the way from Ireland, and Dr. Jodie Solberg, all the way from Washington State. And I am Carmen Seljuk here in the Chicago Metro. And right now, we're going to have Cormac Colleran tell us about his presentation coming up at Mid-America Hypnosis Conference this just a few days. We're just 17 days away from it. He's going to enlighten us about addiction and what to do about it. He has a protocol on how to help with addiction, because addiction is skyrocketing lately. So Cormac, tell us all about it.
Hi, Carmen. It's lovely to be here, and very excited about coming to Chicago. I know it's getting closer and closer every day. I will be speaking to delegates about my work in addiction. I will be doing, I'm going to do a live demo of the ICANN transformational protocol, or the ICANN method. So I suppose as hypnotherapists, we're in a space like with addiction where it's just growing worldwide, and whether that's substance abuse or behavioral abuse, sometimes now it's just scrolling on our phones and people can't stop doing it. And if it's eating into our well-being and our time, it's not good. I do a lot of work with drug addiction here in Dublin. I do a lot of work with cocaine addiction. Cocaine addiction here is kind of more, it's not necessarily a lower society drug, it's more of a higher society drug. So there tend to be people of means, there tend to be professional people that are getting addicted to it. And one of the things that I notice in my work in my private clinic is that the people that come to a private hypnotherapist looking for help with addiction, they tend to be people of means, people that they might be running their own businesses, they've good jobs, their addiction is costing them a lot of money. They don't want to go to rehab centers. They don't want to spend months and months, maybe years, going to counseling and psychotherapy. They want a solution that's powerful like hypnotherapy. They want a solution that's quick. They want a solution that takes a lot of the heavy lifting, we'll call it, out of it for them. And they want something that can like flick a switch in their mind. And like, we know we're all capable of that. When you hear people, even people that have never used hypnotherapy, when you hear people that have been addicts and someday something happened, they made a choice. They reached some point, they made a choice and said, right, that's it, I'm never taking that again. Well, what we're doing as hypnotherapists is helping them create those kind of situations where something happens, something clicks in their mind. They're not consciously aware of what it is. They might have ideas. What we want to do is create that space where something happens and then their life changes from there.
Yes, and what I want to point out is that they are conscious about their intention of stopping that addiction. And that is a very important point I want to make, because if somebody comes to hypnotherapy and say, oh, let's see if you can do something about my addiction, smoking, I work with smoking, I refuse to work with someone that just wants to see if they can quit smoking, but they're not ready to quit smoking. So I said, okay, well, we're not going to work on smoking just yet. Let's work on your anxiety or other issue or identity or other issue that needs to be worked on. And sometimes they continue to work and sometimes they don't. But if someone is not ready to make the change, the subconscious is not ready to make the change, then it's going to be a bit more difficult. But you're right, Cormac, because we give them the suggestion that they are willing to work with, and this is where magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would agree, Carmen, about their willingness to want change. And I always say to hypnotherapists, it's not your job to convince someone to make a change. Mm-hmm. Sometimes hypnotherapists, they go there a bit too quickly. They'll tell smokers how bad it is for them and how many people die and give them statistics. And we're not going to change anything with logic. And it's not up to us to convince. Our job is to help them to do it once they're convinced that they want to do it. We can of course help with emotionally connecting them to their reasons for wanting to quit. So if someone says, like, typically we ask, why do you want to quit? They'll just give us a word. They'll say health. I mean, that's nothing to work. that's not enough to work on. I will always say to them, that's a 6-letter word. What does it mean to you? And
Yes.
then we're getting to understand what's the real choice that someone is making. They're not coming into you to quit smoking. If cigarettes aren't bad for them, they might not be coming in. They're coming into you to make a bigger decision. They're choosing their future. And we've got to reframe it for them quite quickly. What are you really choosing here? It's the consequence of smoking that's the issue, not the smoking itself.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and when we can, and it's a very powerful reframe, and there's a lot that I'll be talking about in my talk, and that both Jodie and I speak about at SFTI Hypnosis, that there's some very powerful reframes that are simple to deliver, that begin to change things in the mind of your client long before you do formal hypnosis or an induction at all. And one of those is getting them to understand what's the real choice that they're making. What are you really doing here? Because now I'm not quitting smoking. I'm not quitting something. I'm going after something. I'm choosing to have quality in my life.
They're
And I'm
choosing
not
to
even.
become something. I'm sorry to interrupt, but they're choosing to become something that they are not. And in my world, in my line of work, this is all about identity. This addiction is affecting who they are. It's affecting what they do, and then they want to either get back to who they were or become who they need to be in that identity. And identity work, it's not simple work. So, but go ahead, enlighten us more about
Yeah,
addiction.
I'm glad you said that about identity, because that's a really, really crucial part. We want them to, they want to step into who it is they're becoming. And once we can attach identity to that, it can become very powerful. And so now it's no longer like behavior. It's not about a behavior, but who do I wish to become? And that's so much more powerful. So there's and sometimes in hypnotherapy, depending on how people were trained or what their ideas are, they focus on just the behavior. And the behavior itself, while it does deserve some focus, that's not all. We need to focus on identity, and we need to focus on what's driving the behavior. So what
Exactly.
is it?
There is a source. Something happened, or a series of things happened, and what's driving that? And a lot of people may say there is studies over there that addiction is an illness, a pathology. Well, yes, it is, but it's also, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm not trying to minimize this, because you are the one doing addiction work, but something happened when that happened, when they start doing that.
Absolutely. And both Jodie and I at SFTI Hypnosis, we talk about the addiction. The addiction is the solution.
Yes.
It's the solution to the problem. I've just worked with a client only minutes ago. He's walked out my door. He's a multi-billionaire. He's one of the biggest most impactful entrepreneurs on the planet. And he came to me today to help him quit smoking. And he told me that when over 30 years ago, his first marriage broke down and his wife divorced him. And he told me he spent 3 or 4 years just drinking bottles of vodka every day. And I suggested him, I said, that was your solution at the time. And he said, oh my God, he said it was, because the other solution I had was suicide. That was what he was contemplating.
Wow.
And this man, I'm not going to actually say divulge anything, but he's since gone on to create businesses that have the potential to wipe out things like malnutrition across Africa in children. Like a
Wow.
highly impactful person on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But he was in so much pain, alcohol became his solution, and
Yes.
that and in a way it kept him alive until one day he decided, that's it, I've got more to me. And
Yes.
I
He
started on
was
an
alive by the time he was already grieving most of his loss.
yeah.
He was done with. Wow, that's amazing. And you're right. I work with a good amount of executives that they're highly positioned, highly successful people that they still need identity work. And it's amazing how hypnosis works as opposed to other things. But something I've been wanting to mention earlier, I have a client that she's had addiction in the past, not anymore, but she is not comfortable going to AA meetings because that's not who she is.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, she came to the right person when she came to me. We worked on her trauma, right? But I understand that because okay, I'm not going to say that because I'm going to mess something up. Okay, you go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're really beginning to speak our language, Carmen. So this is great. And we do talk about like the space for hypnotherapists to work in addiction. Like there's not enough hypnotherapists working in addiction. That's what was my belief. And there's reasons that they're not. They don't have the confidence. They don't have the frameworks. They don't have the skills, the tools, the understanding, the trainings, and they may have a fear of what like an addict is. And like we looked at as part of our message to dispel that myth and to invite hypnotherapists to come in and work with addiction, and for them to understand then that I use the term. I know Jodie will smile when I say this, whack-a-mole. That when we help people with one addiction on the surface level at the behavioral level, it may pop up again as something else.
Yes.
And until we can get beneath the surface and that kind of what's the trauma that was causing it, what's the underlying reasons. So I'll be talking a lot about solution focused approaches, and I will demonstrate the ICANN method in my talk in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Jodie's an expert in the trauma informed space, and what we've realized is both of these things have to come together in order to make real transformation with our clients. So instead of resolving an addiction at the surface level, at the behavioral level, for it to reemerge in some other way, we need to actually resolve what's the underlying trauma, what's the cause, what's there that keeps pushing up, what are the roots that keep pushing up these weeds in the person's life.
You're right, because something has happened. Like I have a client that she was physically abused by her husband to the event that he would throw her on the ground and take her head and hit the ground with her head repetitively. So we're talking about brain injury at this point. So do I go straight into quit smoking? No, trauma has to be addressed. So you're right. If that is not addressed, and you can't just keep on going with this with people that have addiction and tell them what a bad that's a bad habit, that something. Oh, how do I phrase this? Because I want to be careful on how I particularly disagree with some approaches with addiction, specifically in the area that makes them be the bad guy because they're doing this. Well, they're doing something bad, but are they bad? So this is what the work that you do on this addiction, and everybody should be doing this.
And it's important to understand the intention of the subconscious mind behind the behavior. The intention is a positive intent. It's like to kind of distract them or change how they feel in that moment. It's just the strategy is not good. I mean, I come to mind, bring to mind a man that I worked with for weight loss, and initially we looked at some of the behaviors, so the emotional based eating, and we worked kind of on the behavioral level and got some kind of change. But once we started to explore deeper, like why was this man morbidly obese? And really what we got to, so there was childhood bullying, childhood abuse, been beaten up. He felt safe when he was really big.
Yes.
So when he was really big, he felt safe out in the world because no one's going to try and pick on him when he's that big. So the weight, even though it was damaging his heart, it was ready to kill him. At the subconscious level, he felt a lot safer with all that weight on him than if he was a thin man. Now he's vulnerable again. So what's behind the behavior? Once we become curious as to what's behind the behavior, now we can start really turning the key and unlocking the code.
That's
And
true.
Yeah, and this is where we can get real life-changing results. So we're not just helping our clients to overcome the presenting issue, but we're actually going deeper and changing their lives in ways that they didn't even think that was that they was possible or that they needed, and it really frees them up then to live their life in a
Yeah.
healthy and wholesome way.
This is the magic of hypnosis. This is the magic of hypnotherapy, and it's not like one time deal. It's not, because the subconscious is fragile, and we need to tend the subconscious gently for the subconscious to begin to trust our voice, at least our voice, because the conscious is going to trust us as a person, but the subconscious is to begin to trust our voice to allow to open. And in my work, I noticed that when I speak to the subconscious and I invite the subconscious to open as much as it's ready to heal, just to give us permission to do a little more healing, just miracles happen.
Absolutely, and I think, what Jodie and I are really interested in is creating a framework for therapists to work off. So there's a framework. This is like, what should I be asking? Where should I be looking? Where's my curiosity? What's actually happening? And then there's tools to actually deal with that. So when you bring the person into hypnosis, but what's my overall approach? How do I look at addiction? How do I look at where it comes from? What do I need to be curious about when I'm speaking to a client? How can I ask? There's not like, we can't ask them, do you have major trauma in your life? You've just met them. It's not something that we can ask straight away. There's ways that we need to find that out. I think it was maybe in the 1970s, there was a study done. The name eludes me now, whoever wrote The Body Keeps the Score. But he
van der Kolk, Cormac.
What was the
His
name?
name is Bessel van der Kolk.
Yes.
Who wrote The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah. And it talks about like ways of actually getting around to asking these questions. And it can, we start off with simple ones, and where are you from and where did you grow up? And then things like, who helps you if you're sick? Who goes out and does things for you? Who is a caregiver? Were you in situations where a caregiver ever felt threatened? Do you ever feel threatened? And there's different ways that we need to, that all fit into a framework.
Correct.
Of how we can help our clients, how we can get rapport, how we can get asked the right questions, how we can become curious, really. And from a framework of the addiction is the solution that their subconscious mind chose.
Yes.
The part of that person that is maintaining that addiction, the part of them has a positive intention.
Yes.
And once your client understands these things, like, you can see the weight lifts off their shoulders, shame and stigma begin to lift as well. Mm-hmm. So an awful lot of work is done before you ever go into any of the actual hypnotic tools and techniques, by having a solid framework and an understanding of how to approach these things.
Yes, that's wonderful. So let me show everybody a little detail about the workshop, because you and Jodie are going to have a post-conference workshop on this new approach to hypnotherapy about addiction. And as you say, the addiction is skyrocketing here all over the world. And you are going to have this workshop October 21, from October 21 to October 24. And it's a very important workshop to have and to attend for every practitioner that's interested in working with addiction. And here they can find more information going to this hypnosisconference.org workshop, and then scroll down straight to this. Scroll down to Jodie and Cormac about addiction, and look at a little bit of what it has to offer, and do register. And why is this important is because Cormac is from Ireland, coming to US, and he's not in the US all that often, and you get to see him in person. And Cormac and Jodie has been working together for quite some time. And so come to the conference. The conference is right here, October 17 to 19, and here's a little bit of video. You can play on it, and you get new lunch buffet, and you get to spend a little more time with us face to face, those presenters. And here are the packages, a really, really good price. If you don't want to go this level, you can at least have this 2 levels, but who knows, you might want to go that level. And we're going to have over 100 presenters, speakers, a bunch of vendors, including me and Jodie. We're going to have a vendor booth, people coming from all over the States and Europe. Cormac is coming from Ireland. And Cormac is going to do a presentation on addiction cessation, and you can learn more about his presentation over here and about Cormac over here. And this is the address, hypnosisconference.org, speaker/Cormac Colleran. And don't miss out. We just have 17 days left, 19 hours, 45 minutes, and don't let the minutes pass by. So tell us a little bit about the workshop. Do we still have a few minutes with you, Cormac and Jodie?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So the post-training workshop is it's where we're going to be delivering this new framework for dealing with hypnosis, and like I said, unlocking that subconscious code. So we look at it as like there's an overall kind of approach, like how do we train therapists to look at addiction differently, and what's the best way of educating hypnotherapists on how to look at addiction in a way that helps them relay this to their client. So we've got to look at, we teach tools and techniques, and we teach a framework, and we teach them from solution-focused approach. So where is the person right now? Where do they need to get them? What's the quickest way of getting them there? And that will cover things like behavior, but also we need to look at what's beneath it. And again, it's like, what are the traumas that are promoting or driving the unwanted behavior? As we know, anytime there's unwanted thoughts, feelings, or behaviors, and think about it, that's pretty much anything a client can come to as a hypnotherapist with, unwanted thoughts, feelings, or behaviors. Anytime there's unwanted thoughts, feelings, or behaviors, there's always something at a deeper subconscious level that drives that. The subconscious thinks it's gaining something from it. So that's where our start point should be. That's where we need our curiosity to come from. So what's driving, what's behind it? And then what are those underlying patterns that the subconscious mind has learned? And it may have learned those patterns many years ago, but it's still running them now, even though it's not relevant, it's not useful, it's not serving the client. So when we, I've been running training for a number of years around addiction, and mostly with a solution-focused approach. And after meeting with Jodie and hear her speak and getting more of an understanding of her expertise, we talked about it a lot and realized that in order to really get the job done for people, we need to get into the trauma-informed side of things. Jodie, you might speak to that a little bit.
Absolutely. Thanks, Cormac. Yeah, it's really important to get to that root. So we don't have the whack-a-mole situation that you were talking about. There are those subconscious roots that often, like Carmen and I were talking about with my presentation, go back to childhood and even beyond that. And so figuring out, what is that root, instead of just mowing over the weeds as they pop up, mowing them down, and then they pop up over here like the whack-a-mole situation and mowing them over. We want to figure out what that root is, why that pain that they're trying to suppress those emotions, or they're trying to not deal with something. The subconscious created a coping strategy. And like Cormac said earlier, it was a positive intention, just the strategy isn't serving and supporting them anymore. So we need to find that root, remove that, heal that, replace it with something that's going to serve and support them better, with some more fertile soil in there. And so there's that identity piece is huge, because that shame and that guilt and the heaviness and that pressure that we can help lift for them by addressing the trauma side is going to help them to be able to shift that identity and step into who they're wanting to become and move towards something. So we're not just ripping away the only coping strategy that they've known, we're helping them to replace it with something that's going to bring them closer to that vision of what they're wanting. And so not just taking something away and removing a behavior, but giving them a new, healthier coping strategy that their subconscious can get on board with is important, because that's where you're going to find that real and lasting change, rather than the client who comes in for smoking and then take away that behavior, and then they end up 6 months later back with you for something else. So, whether it might be sugar or alcohol, we can really come up with new addictions that are going to be comforting, that are going to be the way to cope. If we don't know how to regulate our nervous systems, how to cope with things, and how to feel, process, and release emotions. So these are all the types of things that we go through in the training. And we talk about absolutely where are they now and where do they want to be, but also how do we resolve and move forward with that release of that trauma.
That's wonderful. Very, very important work. And both of you are bringing up such important issue, not just addressing the behavior, not just addressing the addiction per se. So many other people are addressing that. And I also have clients that work with compulsions. And something I wanted to mention earlier, Cormac is from Ireland. I'm from Romania. I can easily understand how people grow up, and the intercultural difference, the cultural experiences, they play such an important role. And I have these clients that they've done psychotherapy for a significant amount of time right here in the U.S. And the psychotherapist is addressing their behavior, their habit, their compulsion. Never once in a year and a half or 2 years have they asked, where did you grow up? What happened? How did you grow up? Did you have this? Never once.
It's like trying to forecast the weather just by looking at the sky.
You're right. It's a very good, very, very good analogy. Definitely.
So much, yeah. It's vitally important that we get an understanding of what's behind it, and that we have ways to make it safe for a client to explain these things to us, because some might come in and tell us all straight away, but many don't. And many, especially depending on their trauma, they're going to find it difficult to trust people. And
yes.
And we get, I get people coming to me all the time that have told me they've done years in therapy. And I kind of I hit my head going, well, why would you stay going back if it's not solving the problem?
Yes.
But they're going back because they're understanding the problem. It's more, I would say that's more problem focused. And
correct.
Learn what solution focus is, it's the opposite of that. They don't need to understand the problem. It might be nice to, but they need to not have the problem. They need to bring them towards solution. Bring them forward, not back.
The more you talk about the problem, the more you re-experience the problem. It's good to talk about it to get a conscious understanding of some of the mechanism, and then how you consciously can add to it. But Cormac and Jodie, hypnosis is their last resource to come to healing. And I cannot be grateful for the work that I do and all of us do in hypnotherapy, because it's magical. It's magical in a sense that it works, and it works fast enough.
It does, and both Jodie and I have life-changing results in our clinics every day, and we're not afraid to say that. Like, that's just how we work and what we do. And if you're a hypnotherapist and you want to be that person, if you want to be that therapist, if you want to be able to enable your clients to change their lives on a daily basis, you need to understand clearly what you're doing. You need to have a solid framework of approach, and you need to have proven tools and techniques that are going to assist your client and help them on that journey.
Correct.
And you're asking about our post-training workshop. These have been the driving questions behind it. How can we enable hypnotherapists to enable their clients? How can we enable them to be to change lives every day? And so what we have what we have come up with for this 4-day training is a framework and tools and techniques that are designed specifically to do that, to enable hypnotherapists out there, to give them the confidence, to give them the framework, to give them tools to help them be able to go out there and make that impact in their communities.
Yes. So again, I'm going to invite everybody to go to hypnosisconference.org workshop. Let me click on this first, right here, to learn more about the post-conference workshop that's going to happen October 31st to 24, which is a full 5 days, if I'm counting correctly. Did I count correctly?
It's a 4-day workshop. Yes.
Yeah, okay, 4-day workshop, a full day. So this is a full-time job. And then here you learn more about Cormac. Right here, you go at here, hypnosisconference.org, speaker Cormac Colleran. And then here you learn more about Jodie, hypnosisconference.org, Jodie Solberg. And do not miss out. Do not miss out. October 17 to 19, come to the conference. And some of the most famous people are going to be there, including Cormac Colleran, Jodie Solberg, Carmen Sauchuk, and many, many more. So I look to see you all at the conference. Jodie, Cormac, anything you want to add?
Well, it was a pleasure to talk with you this evening, Carmen. I know it's evening time for me. It's early for you, and we're looking forward to the conference. And I would say if there's anyone watching, any therapists, practitioners, hypnotherapists, addiction workers that are curious about this, contact us. Come and do the training. You will certainly be glad you did. This is a very comprehensive training designed to really boost your skills, abilities, and confidence in this area.
Yes, absolutely. And I would agree with that. Thank you, Carmen, for having us. And I think it's such an important space to be in, and you can make such a profound impact in the lives of others. It's a very rewarding place to work in. And so absolutely, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'd love to see you in Chicago.
Okay, very well, very well. So thank you, Cormac. Thank you, Jodie. And I look forward to seeing you in just a few days.
Yes, we'll see you soon.
See you then. Thank you.